Welcome to the Grace Fellowship podcast. We are so excited that you're here listening with us. We hope that today's episode will inspire and equip you to know and follow Jesus.
Well, hey, y'all, we're going to welcome you to the Grace Fellowship podcast. And yesterday, we started a new series called Perspective Shift. We're going to be in it for 6 weeks in the book of Philippians. Man, how'd it feel just getting to start off week one?
I tell you, I was excited. There's a lot of, there were a lot of people there.
Yeah,
but
dude, it's
a
packed.
lot of people who I see are leaning in. I mean, we had a lot of people show up at the short-term groups last night, a lot who've gotten into life groups. And so I'm excited about it because of the impact that I think God will be able to make as we lean into this together.
Yeah.
A lot of people picked up Perspective Shift books.
Yes.
And I just want to go through this real quick, okay?
Yeah.
There's a place on page 22 where you would start today. And so if you've never spent time with God before, that's okay. Let me just give you just a little, maybe some tips and tricks of just finding, but I would say find a time and a place that's kind of a regular time for you, whether it's at night or in the morning, and find your place. It might be a certain chair, a certain recliner. It may be at the kitchen table, back porch, whatever it is. But find a place that becomes kind of your routine, at least during this series, and go, man, this is where I'm going to go. This is what I'm going to do. That way you start creating a rhythm, a pattern in your life. And so what I like to do is I get a cup of coffee, and I go to my space, my place, and what I do is right before I start, I just say, all right, God, will you show me what you want me to know and show me what you want me to do? And I just sit for a moment and ask him to clear my mind, my thoughts. Okay, here's the thing. What happens a lot of times, our minds are racing, all that kind of stuff. So maybe for some who that's one of the challenges, ask God to clear your mind. And then just have a notepad or a piece of paper there. Write down the thoughts that are flooding your mind and then come back to them in a minute so that you can focus on this. And so you start like that, and then this is very basic walk through. And so it's an easy place to start for anyone. But it just starts with Philippians 1:18. And he talks in this I rejoice, yes, and will rejoice. And then he goes on to just kind of explain this idea about joy that we talked about yesterday. A lot of it might be repetitive, but that's the idea, is that we focus on it and look into it. It goes over the memory verse, which, by the way, their memory verse that they have in the book is a different translation than ours. And it's okay. Whichever one you want to memorize, it's saying the same thing, just with different words. And then it has some questions. How would you differentiate? And you just start answering those questions. And here's what I'd say at the end, is that when you get done with this, it doesn't take long. Take a minute and say, all right, God, so how do I apply what I am looking at today? How do I apply what's one thing that I need to know or do or change today? And then just kind of say, all right, Lord, will you help me do that? And so it's really simple. That's why I like this. It's a good place for anyone to start if you're spending time with God, and it just gives you a little nugget of truth every day. So check that out if you haven't. I think we have a few books left. If you still need a book, we can get those. If you're gone this weekend or you haven't been able to get one yet, I do believe there's still some books for people who may want to jump in on that. We can get those. So, I just want to go over that.
Yeah. I love that you talked about, especially when you're in a week of talking about joy over and over and over again. I think it's nice. Sometimes we get it feels very repetitive. I already know this, but following Jesus is a lot of repetition. It's a lot of reminder. It's a lot of coming back to it because we so easily forget. So it's actually really nice to have space where we slow down and maybe even hear the same thing or something close to the same thing over and over again. That's okay.
Yeah, it's good actually for the renewing of our mind.
Yeah.
With all that they've now learned with science, with neuroplasticity, and learning to basically cut new pathways in your brain and your way of thinking. Repetition is actually part of that process of renewing your mind. And so I love it is part of following Jesus. It's a repetition of doing and thinking and change. It's a change of thinking that leads to a change of behavior.
Yeah.
So,
Which, like, when we're talking about a way of thinking, right? So we're talking about perspective shift, and so much of everything we're looking at in Philippians is, hey, you used to see the world this way, but you need to learn to see it this way, right? Which is the key to walking with Jesus of, hey, you used to believe this, you used to think this, you used to know this, but now I've presented you with the truth that you go, oh, wait a minute, there's a different reality that's at hand, and it's changing the way I see everything, right? So like yesterday you talked about your glasses moment, which by the way is a huge fear of mine. When I started going back to school, a lot of guys who had gotten the degree that I had were wearing glasses and they didn't before. Yeah. And they're like, oh yeah, you just read so much, like it kills your eyes. And dude, it stresses me out to like open a book sometimes because I'm like,
am I gonna be able to see
it? I'm one more book closer to throwing some glasses on. So I'm waiting for the day, man.
In all transparency, there was a moment prior to that I had an inkling that my eyes might be going bad. I was trying to read the instructions on the back. I still remember this on the back of a carpet cleaner bottle, and I was like, they just printed them fuzzy, and literally just rolled with it.
Yeah, it's got to be a print problem for sure. Yeah, the ink was bleeding a little bit. Dude, so my perspective shift story, right? So in student ministry, one of the things I love is like kids for a long time would make me art. Some of like our more artistic kids that sometimes are harder to connect with. They don't have games and stuff that you can go to. You'd walk up into the youth building and a kid is drawing in their sketch pad or whatever. And so I would just engage with them and be like, oh man, what are you drawing? Love to see that stuff. I love art anyway. And I would always say, hey, make me something. Paint me something. I want to hang it in my office. I want to put it in my office. So we had this really talented kid. I mean, just insanely talented. And I was always bugging her, hey, paint me something. So we're doing our vacation Bible school at our church. Go into my office one day and there's a canvas upside down. It's got like a note on the back and it's like, oh, sorry, this is so bad. I'll paint you something for real another time, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, this kid could never do anything bad. So I turn it over and I literally cannot even tell what it is. I have no clue. It looks like, so I'm into screamo music, hardcore stuff, all this. It's like very red, black, gray. It looks like this mountain that's like bleeding. Okay. And I'm like, what is this like blood mountain? So, but I can't tell this kid.
No, you can't say,
that they've got this bad piece of art in front. Dude, I put it up in my office. Oh my gosh. See her like the next day, like, man, hey, I'm so thankful for this. And we went by, her mom ended up like coming on staff with us for a little bit. And so I was like, oh, I love this. She comes into my office and she looks up and sees this painting and she goes, what is that? And I'm like, well, that's what your kid painted for me. And she's like, no, it's not. And I'm like, well, what are you talking? Your kid's name is on the back. Like, there's no escaping. I think that your kid is good too. Clearly she's not. Dude, she walks over to my bookshelf. She takes the painting and turns it 90 degrees. And it's like this beautiful picture of a lion with a red background. And I was like,
no way,
what
dude.
is going on? And I was like, and it was amazing. Not bad at all. So beautiful.
Oh my gosh,
and I was
dude.
like, I had to lie to your kid. Tell her that I loved Blood Mountain. And she's like, no, it's this like, it's a lion. And dude, changed the game. And anytime we're looking at scripture, I'm like, man, if we just shift our perspective a little bit, everything changes right there. Yeah. And it just comes into line. It comes into focus.
Yeah. And I think that's really the heartbeat of this, and not just of each message. It's really the heartbeat of spending time with God daily.
Yes.
Right. And really that would be the heartbeat behind what Paul's wanting these people to recognize is that, hey, it's this relationship, rejoice in the Lord always, right? In the Lord, not the Lord doesn't change. Your circumstances will, right? And so it's learning to figure out how to be anchored and rooted in that, and it's that process that flips the painting 90 degrees and helps you see things in a way that you hadn't been able to see before.
I'll have to grab it from home. I'll bring it into the office and show you. It's gonna blow your mind.
Great. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, man. So you talked about, happiness is a feeling. We always love a good Fighting Texas Aggie football reference. We love thinking about some of that.
I want to know, there were some people who they thought that they'd escaped my celebration of that win.
Yeah, it's not November yet, man. We're going to be celebrating football for a while.
And we had a bye week, and I was like, of course I'm going to mention it.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I?
Absolutely.
Right? It was the best road win we've had in like a decade.
Yeah, I was saying a long time since I was in school, probably for sure.
Anyway, yeah, and of course you and I are doing the podcast today after that. So
what else would we talk about, man? What else would we talk about?
So yeah,
dude, and the waves reference, like all of that is, and that's straight out of James. Like some of the being just tossed back and forth, and decision making, and thinking through joy. Right. So Paul he's thankful for this group of people. He has joy because of the work that those people are doing, which I think is, I always love this. Like, it's just a pastoral take, man. Isn't that what we want as a staff, to have joy because of what God is doing in our people?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
That's the Philippians is the letter we all want to be able to write.
So I was thinking about that moment the other day, and I'm sure you've had these moments, but like when I look back and I think of what does joy feel like at times, it's that student that you poured into.
Yeah.
And then you see them on stage, like sharing their faith, or you see them on stage leading worship.
Yeah.
Like, and you have that moment of, holy moly, look what God is doing.
Yeah.
Like, I had a personal moment of joy.
Yeah.
Not too long ago, I got to go in and watch my son lead worship.
Yeah.
And like, I go back to the early days when he was fresh home from the hospital, and I'm praying over him that he'd be a great athlete and NFL material, and all the
all the things
stuff,
that dads pray over
right.
their sons, for sure. Yeah.
And I was committed to praying every night, and I literally got done praying one night. I went to the kitchen table and felt like I said, like, that's what you want. What do you mean? It's like, if he was able to do all those things, but he wasn't walking with Jesus, would you be okay with that? Like, what's more important? And I just had that moment in my life. And so now, 14 years later, looking up to seeing him walking with Jesus and leading. Not that he's perfect. I'm not saying he's perfect. Yeah. He's my son. He's not going to, at the end of the day. But at the end, like when it comes down to it, like watching your kid, like, lead people to worship Jesus, it's not happiness. It is internal joy, man, that you're just like so excited about what God's doing.
Dude, which is such a good word. I think we see parents all the time, especially in sports world or the arts world or any of those things where their kid excels, their kid succeeds, and we all want our kid to find their thing, right? Like that's the phrase they always say, like, oh, my kid needs to find their thing or the thing that God made them do. And I think it's so helpful to be like, hey, these things are really great. God did make your kid to do more than the thing that they can really only do until they're 18.
That's right.
Like and to help parents understand, like, hey, there's something, not even just that your kid offers the church, although I think the vehicle that they'll experience that is through the church.
Yeah.
But hey, there's something that your kid has to offer the world because of what God is doing in the world, and helping your kid find that thing. Is going to be way better than helping them take their AP classes, get into whatever school, like get into their house, because we just know a ton of empty 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds or whatever
who hate their job. They hate their thing.
Yes.
They thought that they were gonna it was gonna be that for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because it's really about them discovering who they are in Christ.
Yes.
Because then it doesn't matter if they know who they are in Christ. It really doesn't matter what that thing is.
Yeah.
Because that thing can come, that thing can go, but there's a steadiness, right? Because once again, we're in a way we're teaching them how to anchor their lives in a relationship with Jesus.
Yeah.
Where only joy is found. And then you can go to the job that you hate and still enjoy your life, because you realize that it's not about the job. It's about your assignment while you're at the job, your kingdom assignment, like why you're there. Not what you're doing, but why you're there. And so, I think you're right, man. I can so easily get so focused on, but I push my kids hard on grades and all these things and whatever. It's like, okay, but that's not who they are. Yeah. Right? God's given great aptitude. We're going to encourage to do everything as unto the Lord. Yeah. Everything with excellence, right? We're going to give our best effort. Like in my house, there's a scoreboard that matters in life. It's attitude and effort. Yeah. If you win on that scoreboard, it'll help you win in life. And that's so, awesome. I want, so we talk about that scoreboard a lot, but at the same time, what you're doing, you're accomplishing. You're right. For most kids, if they get to do it till they're 18, it's over then. Majority of kids. And I know everybody thinks their kids going pro or going to go play in college. Maybe. Yeah. I'm not saying it can't happen, but what I am saying that I know a lot of kids who went and played in college and hated it. Yeah. because that thing, right, is no longer satisfied. It changes. It's different. And, they found their identity in a thing that it's just not quite doing it for them anymore.
Yeah, I for sure know more kids that I think went to college to play sports that quit after their first year or two than that actually go all the way through 4 years.
Yeah.
Even on that, dude, crazy stat I saw yesterday in that world, in Major League Baseball, you can put every player who has ever worn a Major League Baseball jersey in, I think it's like the Rockies Stadium. So there's one of the stadiums that's like 47,000 people, and you wouldn't fit like 60% of the stadium. Like, that's how crazy it is to like be that good for that long at that level. Is that in our major league sports, you look at it and you go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's the odds are way more that my kid is going to be doing something else, have something else to do.
Yeah.
And that if it goes to 18, then great, but it could also not go that far.
So I think the point is that, like, if we're setting our kids up to think success is that kind of achievement, and that's where they'll find, just chasing happiness is what it is.
Yeah.
It's going, hey, you be successful in these ways and you'll be happy.
Yeah.
The reality is, hey, where they'll find joy, stability, right? The depths of the ocean, the thermostat, the climate, right? A climate that they get to live in, regardless of what's going on.
For sure.
Right? It's teaching them to walk with Jesus, because joy is rooted in a relationship with Jesus. So, like, are we as concerned about them learning to have a relationship with Jesus as we are being successful in their thing, whatever that is? Yeah.
So I love, so much of this, right? Being grounded in who God has made us to be in Christ, knowing who we are in Christ. And I think that helps us when we get into, you talked about joy killers and joy fillers yesterday, which was, dude, awesome. Awesome. And just to help think about it. And it's, they're not, sometimes I think when we preach, it feels like we find like these really small or niche things, but all of these apply on a really big scale. I think I look at this list and I'm like, man, all of these are something that we could struggle with on any given basis. Yeah. And so just looking at it even from and we can even go one by one, but when you look at this list, and I think, whenever I'm preaching and I've got to work through like, hey, here are the things that are not done well, here are the things that are done well, I also have to deal with, oh, this is the thing that's killing my joy.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you would say, man, this is probably the joy killers in my life?
I'm going to say that the worst one in my life, probably, if I look back, and the one that has gotten me the most is comparison. Constantly comparing myself. I was a middle child, so hello, that's part of it. You're with that life, right? But you, and here's the thing: it's not that other people necessarily compared me to my older brother or my younger sister. Sometimes they did, and in fact, my younger sister, 3 years younger than me, was good at everything, and so was one of those, right? And so. But I found myself constantly comparing of, how am I doing? How do I measure up? Comparing not just to them, but comparing to the guys I played sports with. My best friends, growing up, they came from a different financial circumstance than necessarily we did. So I was constantly comparing what I had to what they had, and I always never felt like I had enough. Yet I was well taken care of. Yeah, like we were never without, but because I was constantly comparing, I always felt like I didn't have enough. I didn't have what they had, and I didn't get to do what they got to do, right? There was this constant comparison. And then what's interesting is I got to college, and that comparison actually multiplied because I had a larger scale of people to compare myself with, graduated college, and that's when social media kicked off. That ages me a little bit, but I don't care. So I'm graduate college, but here's social media kicks off. I start going to these conferences where I meet other student pastors, and I hear about their student ministry and what they're getting to do, and getting to meet these guys who are traveling, speaking. Now all of a sudden, I've got a great ministry that I'm getting to do, but it's not good enough because look what theirs is doing. Yeah. And it just makes you never content with and never able to enjoy what God's doing right in front of you because you're constantly looking out there and you're thinking what's out there is better than right here. Yeah. And so it completely killed my joy time and time and time again. What about you? What's one of the...
No, man. Yeah, I think, dude, in comparison and complaining, I think kind of go hand in hand in so many ways. But I do think comparison, to be transparent, when we were in Marble Falls, even before this, I think a big part of why we felt like God was moving us on to something else is I think comparison had become such a big part of our lives in some of our just network of people and some of the culture that was there, not in the church as a whole, but in the community as a whole. And I never thought that I would get caught up in like the rat race of making sure that my house was good enough for people to come into and that we had the things, that we did the vacations, and we really had more than I think we ever thought that we would have in ministry. And it just still felt like we were sitting there like, well, but it's not what everybody else around us has. And so that was, I think, a big part of even getting out of youth ministry for a little bit and figuring out those things of like, well, the only way to upgrade here financially is to do this, and the only reason to do this. And so that was just a big thing for us. And because I grew up in when my dad started making more money, we always got a bigger house. We moved into a different part of the neighborhood. There was always a new car in the driveway. And kind of grew up in that space. And when I graduated high school and college, I was like, I don't need any of that. Got into ministry. I mean, I'm cool being this way. But then you have kids, and then you have this stuff. And I saw something really helpful on social media yesterday that in the world where it's like, have the most impact, have the most influenced. And that's some Christian language that comes from us too, right? Like, go make a difference, go do all this stuff. Is like, hey, it's okay to just make a difference in your neighborhood, or just in the people in front of you, or in the kids in your home.
It's a really good place to start.
Yeah, like those are really, really great places. And it doesn't always have to be big platform, doesn't always have to be this kind of stuff. Like, just be faithful where you're at.
Yes.
And don't worry about what God is doing in somebody else's life, if God is even doing something in somebody else's life. Like, we don't even know that to be true all the time. So I think, man, we have to be on guard on that stuff all the time. And I think that's just part of being like millennials who grew up in the internet age, that comparison is everywhere. Yeah,
it's everywhere. And I really meant what I said about, man, sometimes one of the best things some of us could do is literally delete social media. It would be the best thing for our joy. We wouldn't recognize it for about a week, but I promise it'd probably be that fast. In about a week, you'd start going, I can breathe a little bit. Like, wow, I don't know. I've the last few years, I noticed a couple years ago, I noticed how much time I was losing on my phone. And so I started trying to take some steps to get some of that back. And what I found is when I did, I was actually getting some joy back too. I didn't realize I was missing. But the other thing I was thinking about is currently I read through the Bible in a year, every year with a little reading plan that I do. And so it has 4 readings, 2 from the Old, 2 from the New. If people have been part of Grace before, I've suggested this before. Like, actually, I think it's on our resources page. But it's right now I'm in Ecclesiastes, which I find so interesting because he goes, hey, there's no different. In the end, there's no different between the wealthy and the poor. Wealthy people, he's going, man, it's a trap. You're chasing happiness and wealth. Poor people, you're chasing wealth, happiness and wealth. Like, both people are chasing. And he goes, and in the end, it's all meaningless. Yeah. And so I think it's interesting because comparison is so often causes us to chase the things that we think, if I can get that, if I can get there. The problem is, once I get that and get there, there's always someone with more, right? There's someone who's with more, right? Richer, smarter, faster, right? Stronger, right? There's someone with a little bit more. And so it's just one of those things of that comparison. Now, the complaining deal, dude, I'll be honest with you, I've never been much of a complainer. I do not like complaining. It's part of I don't know if it's a personality thing or just the way I'm wired or whatever, but like, complainers will absolutely take the air out of my tires that, because I don't do it myself, but I don't like being around complainers. And I really do think, I don't necessarily know that that's because I'm, just not a complainer. I think that's just the way I'm wired. I'm wired to see things glass half full, rainstorm, well, there's a rainbow somewhere, that kind of thing. It's like, that's literally a bit of my personality. And so complaining, the thing about complaining is it doesn't just kill your joy. It literally kills your joy. It keeps you from seeing any good. But it also kills the joy of those around you, man. Man. It is a joy killer, not just for you, but for everyone else. And so I think the unforgiveness piece is an interesting piece because I'm sure you meet with a lot of people And I've met with a lot of people that when you're sitting with them, you realize like really fast that really the root of maybe their physical problems is their emotional problems, the root of their spiritual issues. Almost so often, I would say more times than 50%, right? Comes to a deal of, hey, there's a something in the past that you haven't addressed, or maybe you're not willing to address, or you think you've forgiven them, but it sure seems like you're coming back to that all the time and talking about that. Let's talk about how to do that, because man, unforgiveness, man, it'll keep you from joy. It doesn't just steal it. It keeps you from being able to even experience it in so many ways.
Yeah. Well, and it frames the world, I think, in a way that like the more unforgiveness that you hold on to and the more that you hold on to it for more groups of people, it really keeps you from believing that things like reconciliation, things like redemption are possible. And eventually that will begin to apply to yourself. Yeah. And I think that's the difficulty. And same way, man. Like I just know people, and we've had to, in my family and in different aspects, come to places where we go, hey, we can't live hating this person forever. We can't live holding them to that fire. Right. We've got to begin to move forward. And that's a hard place to be. But I think that's usually how you know that that's like the place where Jesus lands. And in comparison and complaining, how is it that being rooted in Jesus keeps us from doing those things? Because I think that's the hard part, right? It's like it's difficult if we just go, I'm not going to complain anymore. I'm not going to live in I'm going to delete my apps. How is it that a relationship with Jesus grounds us in a way that makes us not default to those things?
That's a really good question. I think part of it is that it changes our focus, right? It changes our perspective, changes what we're chasing. We're not necessarily chasing what the world tells us we need, or even being concerned about what the world tells us we don't have. Yeah. When I say the world, I mean that in a general idea. I'm not necessarily saying that, but as we look around, we see we don't have that, complaining about this or that. We're not as concerned. They no longer become the standard by which we're measuring ourselves, right?
That's good. Yeah.
When we're rooted in Christ, now we're our standard is Him and how and His and our and it's in our relationship. When I say that, I don't say we're trying to measure up, right? Instead, we're saying He's going, you have more than enough in me. Yeah. I'm more than enough, right? You've got everything you need. I'm going to take care of you. I'm with you always, even to the ends of the age. He'll supply every need. Like He is there every step of the way. And it's in learning to trust Him, because sometimes our comparison or our complaining is a timing issue. Yeah. Like, who knows? The idea of someone else's blessing shouldn't be a barrier to yours. Yeah. Right? So often it becomes a barrier to ours because we're so focused on that we're not going, okay, God, what are you trying to do in my life? What are you trying to show me? And we totally miss what God's wanting to do and how He wants to move our life because we're so fixed on what someone else has or someone else experiencing that we don't recognize, no, God's trying to do something in your life too. Yeah. He's got a blessing for you too, but as long as you're fixated on those other things rather than being focused on Him. Because I also think of, and I didn't get to talk about this yesterday, but Hebrews 12 says that for the joy set before Him, Jesus endured the cross, right? Yeah. For the joy set before Him. What was the joy? It wasn't the moment He was about to walk through, right? Yeah. It was actually the joy of getting to redeem all the people. It was the eternal impact that this next few hours was going to have, right? It was looking beyond the pain and seeing the purpose. Yeah, that's good. And so part of the daily surrender is beginning to look beyond the temporal and seeing into the eternal and saying, okay, maybe I hate my job, but maybe I'm not here for a paycheck. Maybe I'm here to make an impact on some other people. Yeah. And for the joy set before you of going, hey, what if God has me here for such a time as this? Yeah. To shine a light bright, to encourage someone, to serve someone in such a way that maybe they see Jesus, and then not just their life has changed, but man, they go home, their families have changed, and then the next generations to come are impacted because I continued to go to a job that I hate, but I did it with joy because I looked beyond the moment. Saw the miracle that could happen if I just trusted God and understood that He planted me here. And I was faithful with where I was planted here and let God do the rest. So I think it's one of those deals of understanding that when you're rooted, it changes your focus from all the things that are so just temporary. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. Focus from temporary. That's good.
What would you think there?
Yeah, no, I think that one, like knowing who you are in Christ also means, like in the comparison world, it helps you understand, hey, me comparing myself to someone else is saying something about God, right? Like saying something, God's made a mistake, God's not doing enough, right? Like all this kind of stuff. And so I think when we start to play that game, we get stuck in the like, hey, God must have done something wrong. Maybe God didn't call me here. God didn't put me here. We start to look ahead and outside of the bounds with which God has, like the world that he's put us in. Yeah. And so I think that it grounds us. And I think, complaining is in the same breath there, because complaining is also just saying like, man, it's almost like we're just telling lies about what God is doing in the world and the people around you. Yeah. It's very short-sighted, right? So looking at like Hebrews 12, right? If Jesus sees the joy before him, Jesus has that not because he's short-sighted, but because he sees the whole picture. Yeah. And I think it really helps both of those things. And I think when you do that well, then you can begin to handle some of the unforgiveness well. And it helps you move into the sin section. Yeah. But being grounded in Christ and understanding the way that he's made the world, I always come back to this. I think that we talk so much about sin from like I don't do this because it's bad for me or this or that. It's like, well, it's actually living against the grain with which the world was made. Like that's the point of the creation account, is to show us that God made it and made it with purpose. Yeah. Sin lives against that purpose, and that's why it fights your joy, is because in any other world, if you were fighting against the way that something was made, you would be annoyed. You would be frustrated. It would be painful. It'd be difficult. So when I run on Saturdays.
Which, by the way, this is a great example. If I compared my running ability to yours, I mean,
and I'm not lifting with you anytime soon.
If you see me running for miles on end, you better run too.
Yeah, like that's it.
There's something bad happening. I mean, I'm not doing that, right? Yeah,
and so on Saturdays, I'll run from my house out to about your house, and almost every Saturday I'll go through. I keep like a log for my coach, and I'll put something in. Well, it's uphill back to my house. And on a bad day, it's uphill and into the wind. And it's always miserable. It's harder. I get more tired. It's harder to keep pace. Like everything becomes more miserable. And I write it every week as if it's new news. Like I'm just like, oh, this is why things went bad. And it's like, well, yeah, because I'm working against the grain.
That's right.
Of what's in front of me. And so now it has become more difficult. It's become more annoying. It's become more painful. It's all those things. That's how we're supposed to begin to think about sin, of like, well, yeah, it's against the way that it's supposed to go. Yeah. And that's why it's stealing everything from you or keeping everything from you. Yeah.
I like to, along those lines, one of the things I've talked about is an illustration, and if I use this on a Sunday, hey, don't jump the gun, all right? Just know that I may use this again. Because I use this when I go to talk to students sometimes, or FCAs, it's like I don't know if you've ever been, in a gym, all right, for me. Listening to my Bluetooth headphones. This probably maybe happened around the house before for you. Set down your phone, you start walking away, all of a sudden it gets fuzzy. Things get why? Because there's distance between you and the source, right? Yeah. The reality is that sin is creating a relational distance between, not that God is far from you. Yeah. He is not. But it creates a relational distance, a gap relationally between you and God that you have put there. He didn't go anywhere. Mm-hmm. That you have put there that creates this gap where your relationship isn't great, right? Because God, you're going against his direction. You're saying, yes, God, here's what's crazy. Once you surrender to Christ, you're saying, God, I'm going to trust your way. Yeah. Not mine. Yeah. Right? When you become a follower of Jesus, that's what you're saying. Mm-hmm. The problem is when we continue to sin, what we're saying is psych. Yeah. and we're going down the same path. But I think about it like this. When I was younger, really young, okay, so don't judge me, people. I was trying to hang something with a little bitty nail in my bedroom, right? And I was looking for something to nail it in the wall. Mm-hmm. I picked up my porcelain piggy bank that I'd had since a kid. Yeah. And I decided I would just try to, tap it in.
This is already amazing.
The good news is it didn't shatter.
Oh, okay. All right.
Bad news is it did put a hole in it. now, here's the thing. I was using it in a way it wasn't designed to be used, and it damaged it.
Yeah, that's good.
That's the picture of sin.
That's good.
Right? It's doing something in a way that it wasn't designed to work. And I'm just, people who before they get married, they decide we're going to move in, sleep together, and do all these things. That's not the way God designed it to work.
Yeah.
Can it work? Yeah, the nail in the wall.
Yeah.
There's could be some damage that you're going to work through, and I've seen people work through it. But is it the best way?
Yeah.
Well, can it still rob your joy? Absolutely.
Yeah.
It can actually have lasting effects that rob your joy for a little while.
Yeah.
Right? It's one of those things of different. I'm trying to think of other things that in our culture we sometimes ignore. Like, I'm not saying that drinking alcohol is a sin, but here's what I am saying: God's clear that drunkenness is.
Yeah.
And it could lead to things and down roads that absolutely rob your joy. But why? Because you're doing things in a way that God didn't design. So it creates damage along the way. It creates problems. Pornography. People go, it's not that big of a deal. Man, you're creating damage, areas in your life that is difficult for you to experience joy because of the damage that you're creating. It's just one of those things of understanding that you're not doing, when you don't do things in the way God designed it to be done, going against the grain, you're doing things in the way that God didn't design, and it creates damage. Now, good news is, unlike that piggy bank, God can restore the damage that's been done. But it'd be silly for me to do that, get it restored, do it again, get it restored, do it again, and be man, I don't know why this piggy bank keeps getting holes in it, right? I don't know why my joy keeps getting damaged.
Yeah.
Maybe do it a different way.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe find the way that God designed and trust his way over your way. So I don't know. I may have gotten a tangent right there. But
no,
anyway.
it's a good tangent. It leads us into some good places. Hey, by the way, my dad was here last Wednesday, and his comment afterwards is like, "You've got a really young pastor," and so,
Praise
dude, there you
God,
go, man.
From whom all blessings
yeah,
flow.
like there you go, dude. You're killing it.
I had a buddy show up this weekend. He hadn't seen me in a couple of years. And he's like, man, the gray's getting bad. I was
That's
like,
brutal.
Thanks, buddy.
That's brutal.
It's like,
That's
hey,
brutal.
you're buying lunch for that one.
Well, there you go. I'll just have my dad put in a good word for you every now and then.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
But you talked about surrender. And when we talk about joy fillers, surrender is at the top of that. I don't think that in our culture, right, that we would say, I think that we would think that power is how we get joy.
Yeah.
Being in control is how we get joy. Surrender, what is it about that walking with Jesus that surrender can actually bring us joy? And what are some things that really looks like? I think that surrender is pretty hard to do because it's doesn't come natural to us.
No, it doesn't. And actually, I wrestled with even using that word this week.
Yeah.
Because I was like, man, that's pretty tough word. That's not a word that people look at and go, oh, yeah, I need to do that.
Yeah, I would love to tap out right now. Yeah.
I think, but I think God really wanted me to use that word because when it comes down to it, we are people who want to be in control. We want to try to control outcomes. And so when outcomes aren't going our way, it doesn't actually cause us to lean more into Christ. It causes us to lean more into our efforts, right? And the truth is, the more we lean into our efforts to try to make things happen our way, the less joy we experience, the more frustration. And even if we accomplish it, we're actually not going to experience the joy that God intended because we didn't. It's not rooted in Him. We might experience happiness, but it's going to be fleeting because there's going to be something else that we now have to knuckle up and make it happen, right?
Yeah.
It's a constant deal. So surrender is taking a step back from me being in control and saying, hey, what happens? What would happen if I actually trusted Christ? Not sit here and do nothing. God rarely steers parked cars. You got to be moving in His direction, all right? But what would happen if instead of always trying to force it and make it happen my way, I look to God and say, all right, God, what do you want me to do? How do you want me to respond? And be willing. And I think it only happens, I think that all of these three actually go together, attitude, gratitude, and grow to know Jesus. Because I think the surrender only happens as you grow to know Jesus.
Yeah.
And here's what I've found. The more I've grown to know Jesus, the more I'm willing to surrender. And more, even the more I'm eager to surrender.
Yeah.
Because I've recognized that, man, every time I do, I can trust Him. Right? Part of it's a trust issue.
Yeah.
But the more you know somebody, the easier it is to trust them.
Yeah.
Right? And then that attitude of gratitude, I feel like kind of is part of the way that we remind ourselves that He's come through before, He'll come through again.
Yeah.
The thing is, we take so much for granted. So this attitude of gratitude is helping us recognize what we might naturally or normally take for granted.
Yeah.
Or the way Pastor Rocky would say it, for granted. But
We take it for Pinkstone. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see if he watches this one or not. But anyway, don't tell him. Just let's wait and see if he watches it.
That's
anyway,
awesome.
Yeah. So I think it's that. What are your thoughts, man?
No, I think, surrender is so hard, and I think it gets harder the older we get because we have more in our domain, right? We have more in our world. We have more going on. We have more that we feel like we're supposed to be in control of. I think it's hard for parents. I think it's hard in our work world, but I do think you're right. They all go together, and then as we get to know Jesus, we're more likely to surrender, and I think we're more likely to be thankful because we understand why we even have what we have,
right?
Or why we even are where we are. And I think we're pretty bad at reflecting as people. Like, we're moving so fast, we're moving so hard all the time. We never really stop. We never really slow down. But I think when we stop and reflect of like, man, how did we get here?
Yeah.
What has God done? What is the good gift that's in front of me? It allows us to slow down, and surrender really is, I think it's hard. It's a gift.
It is.
I find a gift for me because it goes, one of the ways we try to do this, and our kids know this, and some people may think this is bad, but we do this, and we'll ask our girls, and then we'll ask Luke when he can answer with words. But, hey, who loves you? Well, mommy and daddy love me. Okay, well, who loves you more? Well, Jesus loves us more. And what we really try to frame is like, for us, honestly, is just the idea that says, hey, we love our kids, and that means that we act in a certain way, but God loves our kids more, which means he's fighting for them more. He has better plans for them than we do. Yeah. And it's a good reminder for us, and it's a good reminder for them that, like, hey, when mommy and daddy fail and our control runs out, like, it's okay, because there is somebody that loves you even more. Yeah. And I think that that's good for us to be able to see that and to be able to think through that, to go, man, I run so hard, I get so tired, I love working, I love doing all this stuff, but when I can slow down and just say, like, hey, here's all of my measly effort, Lord, the rest is up to you. He actually really does a lot more with it, not just in ministry, but in personal world and faith life and all those kinds of stuff. And I'm able to really sit back and enjoy it, because then I'm also not worried about ruining it. Yeah. And that's really, really good. So
one of the things you said about the gratitude, recognizing what we have, like where we are and all that God's done, in I believe it's 1 Corinthians 4, if not it's 2nd, but it's one of his letters to the Corinthians, either 1st or 2nd, and it's chapter 4. God tells us through Paul, what do you have that God hasn't given you? Man, that was something that like rang clear to me, because there was a lot of times in my life I thought, well, I've earned this. I've worked hard for this. Anytime someone says, well, you deserve that, I'm like, no. Yeah. No, we don't. We don't deserve anything. Everything we have has come from God. Can we work hard to achieve, to get there, to honor God with our effort, honor God with our attitude? Absolutely. But the fact I have the energy and the clarity of mind to even be able to pursue those things in the first place is a gift from God. The reality is that we need to strip it back to the root and go, wait, there is nothing that I have that God hasn't given me. Not ability, not intellect, not strength, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Like it all comes from God. It's all a gift from God. And it's in that gift that we're able to operate. And so when we take a step back and recognize, wow, and I think it's also in that moment of surrender that we're able to recognize, oh, yeah, I guess I didn't necessarily do that. Anybody could have done that. It was God's grace that helped me succeed. Thanks, God. It's God's grace in our life. That's what I was talking about. Grace upon grace upon grace, man. Yeah. If you start looking back and go, wow, it's really only by God's grace that I get to be the pastor at Grace Fellowship. Yeah. Like, dude, I'm blown away. I thank God for that often. God, thank you that I get to be here for this. Yeah. And I get to watch you move in incredible ways. And I get to see the life change and people baptized. Like, there is so much to be grateful for that if we're not fully surrendered, we start thinking that it's because, man, it's because we're working hard. Yeah. We got a really good strategy and a really good team. And, Laine's, it's one of those things of we start attributing it to our own effort, and I think it's a sign that we may not be fully surrendered. Yeah. No, for sure. I think that's a good word of just thinking through. I love the kind of, as we kind of wrap it up and thinking through, like, man, coming and talking to the Lord and just being thankful for what's in front of us really grounds us. I think, and I do that. I laugh because I do that often where I'm like, man,
Lord, thank you that I get to be, for me, I'm like thankful I get to be in student ministry. Like I understand that can be a really fleeting thing, that can be a not forever thing. And thankful that you let me do that and that I get to do it here in a place that I love, around people that I love. And, you know, for a long time, and you could ask my wife, like this was pretty much from the moment I was in ministry, the youth pastor job at Grace Fellowship, that felt like the dream job for us to be able to be here. And so now to look back and go, man, God in his perfect timing has allowed us to be here and allowed us to do something and to be a part of that. And even just he's allowed us to have the kids that we have and lead them the way that we have. And it hasn't always looked pretty. It hasn't always been perfect. But it is something that he has really given us. And at any point, I think not just the ability that we have, but I come to the realization all the time that all of that could go away at any moment too,
Absolutely.
Right? Like that's how out of control we are. And that, man, anything could go away at any moment, and it would be totally outside of our control.
And if it does, God is still good.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And so I had to be able to sit in that joy, to be stable in that, and to be able to work through that says, hey, the winds and the waves are coming, but they don't rock me back and forth. Like I'm at the depths of the sea, and I can walk into each day and just be grateful for what's in front of me, because tomorrow will be a totally different page.
That's right.
I think that's good.
So my thought here as we're wrapping up, the idea that really we drove home was joy is rooted in a relationship with Jesus. And I asked the question, how's your joy? And here's what I would say, like, joy is probably an indication of where we are in a relationship with Jesus.
Yeah.
So if there's lacking in joy, then, man, it's not, hey, let's stir up some joy.
Yeah.
It's really, let's grow in God, I need to grow in my relationship with Jesus. Yeah. It's really an indicator that, hey, I need to grow in my relationship with Jesus, because as we grow in our relationship with Jesus, I believe that he will grow our joy.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good, man. I think we land on that. Hey, we'll see y'all next week.